天国へようこそ。おじいちゃんとおばあちゃんあっちだから。
兄ちゃん、ここちょっと怖い。
誰か住んでもすぐに出てっちゃうのね。引っ越しはしません。
お姉ちゃん？
ない全部やりよったな。やってくれるのさゆり。復讐じゃ。
At the beginning of the film, a woman keeps some food items outside a room. After this, she approaches the door and asks sometimes, "Why don't we eat together?" But someone from inside throws something at the door. It is then revealed that a heavyset girl is inside, throwing objects at the door. The woman, visibly fearful, pleads, "Let's be the family we used to be." Moments later, the girl opens the door and extends a crowbar toward her. And as the girl steps out of the room, the woman calls her Sayuri. After this, we see a family moving into their new house, all excited about the fresh start. As they eagerly rush to explore their rooms, Shun stops and stares at a particular spot. His brother Norio asks what's up, to which Shun says this place feels a bit scary. Norio looks around and comments that it's dark before switching on the lights. However, the bulb flickers and goes out, to which he says he will change the bulb. He then leads Shun upstairs to their room. Excited, he rushes to the balcony and exclaims, "Our room is the best!" Shun agrees, but then notices something outside, and Norio replies it looks like some kind of water facility. Later, Shun asks his dad Akio if they can return to their old apartment, to which he replies, "After being cramped up in that tiny old apartment, isn't this place much more open?" Grandpa adds, "And now, instead of living alone, your grandma and I get to enjoy a lively household." Seeing everyone so happy, Akio gets emotional and starts to cry, to which his kids and wife laugh, playfully teasing him. They then notice Grandma staring at something upstairs, and Grandpa jokes, if she doesn't eat, she'll get soggy. At that, she starts eating and says, "The food is delicious." Akio then receives a call and hurriedly says, "I'll be there right away," before leaving there. Everyone continues eating, but Grandma remains fixated on something. That night, as Shun leaves the bathroom, he suddenly hears the sound of heavy breathing from a room. Intrigued, he turns towards the room, but Norio calls out, urging him to hurry up. Later that night, the TV in Kiko's room suddenly turns on by itself, waking her up. She sits up, grabs the remote, and switches it off. But as she lies back down, Sayuri is seen standing silently at the door. The next morning, as the kids are leaving for school, Akio tells Shun, "I'll make sure this house becomes a happy one." At school, Norio struggles to stay awake in class, which his teacher notices and calls him out. But he yawns again, making the other students laugh. Later, a girl approaches Norio and hesitantly introduces herself as Sumita from Class 2. She nervously points out that they've never talked before, then falls silent, standing there awkwardly. After a brief pause, she asks, "Has anything happened recently? Like feeling tired?" Norio replies, "We just moved yesterday," and she asks, "What kind of house?" To which he answers, "Pre-owned, standalone." Sumita steps closer and warns, "Be careful," before quickly running off. That night, the TV in Kiko's room once again turns on by itself, and she quickly tries to turn it off, but it keeps playing the same clip on repeat. After several attempts, she freezes in fear, sensing that she is not alone in her room. And before she can react, the ghost moves closer, then suddenly grabs her hand. Meanwhile, as Shun heads to the bathroom, he sees Kiko standing there. Intrigued, he cautiously approaches her, but she remains motionless. She then slowly raises her hand and slams his face against a pillar. Norio wakes up to the sound of Shun's cries and quickly rushes downstairs. He asks Kiko, "What did you do?" But instead of answering, she hits her own head against the pillar. Hearing the noise, their parents come running to check on them, and Kiko asks Shun if he is okay. Their dad says they should go to the hospital and rushes to get the car, and their grandpa hurries to check on Shun. Grandma glances at the mirror and sees Sayuri standing behind her. But when she turns around, no one is there, and when she looks back at the mirror, Sayuri has vanished. The next day, Norio shares the incident with Sumita, and she warns him to be careful, which makes him hesitantly ask if she can see things. She denies it, but admits she feels something strange. and when Norio asks if she knows anything about what's happening, she says no, but presses him on whether he has sensed anything himself. He admits to feeling slightly uneasy, to which Sumita responds that his feeling is correct, and that the best option would be to leave the house. When Norio returns from school, he notices a woman trying to peek into their house. Curious, he greets her, and she turns to him, asking if his family is the one living there. When he confirms, she remarks that everyone who moves into this house ends up leaving soon after. She then asks if he has experienced anything unusual, but Norio replies no. Stepping closer, the woman offers to introduce him to someone who can help if anything strange occurs. And finally, she introduces herself as Miura from 3 doors down. Later, Shun remarks that Kiko really was like a monster, to which she apologizes and tries to make amends by asking if he still wants the game he mentioned. When he confirms, she assures him that she will get it for him. But suddenly, Kiko vomits, prompting her parents to quickly get up and hand her some tissues. And as her mother cleans up the mess, Kiko unexpectedly vomits on top of her. That night, Akio struggles to breathe in his sleep before suddenly waking up. Concerned, he goes to check on the kids and gently covers Norio with a blanket. As he heads downstairs, he notices that Kiko's room door is open. Curious, he goes to check and finds her sitting in front of the TV. As he enters, something crunches beneath his feet, and he realizes the floor is littered with empty food packets, piles of them covering the entire room. Confused, he approaches Kiko, but a chilling sensation washes over him as he senses another presence. Turning his gaze, he sees Sayuri standing there, gripping a crowbar, and before he can react, she swings it down, striking him. The next morning, when Masako enters Kiko's room, she finds Akio lying motionless on the floor. Confused, she steps closer, only to be horrified upon realizing that he is dead. Later, when they are home after the cremation, Grandma starts looking around asking where Akio is, and when Norio reminds her that he has passed away, she becomes furious, climbs onto the table, and forcefully pins him down, asking why he would say such a thing. Later, as Grandma falls asleep, Norio says it felt like going back in time. Shun asks if they are afraid of dying, to which Grandpa says Akio always focused on living joyfully rather than thinking about death. Shun asks if it's bad to think about dying, to which Grandpa explains that it's not like that, but since they will live until they die, they might as well live happily. He says Akio had a family, bought his dream home, and lived happily, and now it's their turn to do the same. Just then, Grandma murmurs something and then farts, to which Grandpa says Grandma is smelly, making everyone burst into laughter. And meanwhile, we see Kiko has shifted to another room. As Kiko unpacks her things, she suddenly hears a girl laughing from her previous room. Startled and scared, she cautiously crawls toward the room to check, and to her horror, she sees a hand gripping the door. A head then slowly emerges from behind it, and terrified, Kiko quickly slams the door shut. The next day, Sumita offers her condolences for Norio's father. She then sits beside him and admits that she sometimes sees it. He asks, "Sees what?" To which she replies, "A little girl behind you, and she looks really sinister." He asks, "Even now?" To which Sumida turns to him and nods, saying, "It's there, but it doesn't seem like it can do anything outside the house." She then adds, "If I hadn't hesitated and had spoken up properly, your father's life could have been saved." Norio offers her chocolate bread and says, "They say sugar helps calm your nerves." That evening, Norio knocks on Kiko's door, telling her that dinner is ready. However, inside her room, we see her sitting with a baseball bat clutched in her hands. Later, Norio suggests that they start fresh and move to a new place, to which Shun agrees, and Norio adds that they would be fine living in an apartment again. Masako questions whether he intends to abandon the house their father left for them, to which Norio denies this, explaining that their father would want them to be happy. Masako agrees, but insists that their happiness should be in this house. She urges Norio to consider his father's feelings and declares that they are not moving. Suddenly, Grandma looks up and asks, "What is so funny? And why are you laughing?" But Grandpa tells her that no one is laughing. He then turns to Norio and says this is not the time for such a discussion. The next morning, Norio finds his grandpa digging into the ground and tries to stop him, but but Grandpa pushes him back. Masako comes there asking what happened, to which Noria says he is acting strangely. Soon, Grandma arrives as well, and at the sound of her voice, Grandpa suddenly stops and stands up. He moves toward her, asking where she has been for so long and how Akio is. But suddenly, he collapses. Norio rushes to check on him, while Grandma sits there, laughing and making fun of Grandpa. Next, as they sit down for dinner, it becomes clear that Grandpa has also passed away. A few days later, Sumida approaches Norio, telling him she was worried since he hadn't been coming to school for so long. She then asks if it's Grandpa, and Norio confirms, adding that it has been less than a month since they moved there. Sumida then hesitantly asks if she can see his hand for a second and moves closer. Norio, confused, and closes his eyes, but she quickly clarifies that she's not going to kiss him and explains that when she does it, she can see things. Noria gets embarrassed hearing this, but she tells him to calm down before finally taking his hand. The moment she does, Sumida is transported to Norio's house, where she sees the young girl. Suddenly, Grandma asks, "What's so funny?" And then she turns to Sumida, but the girl's laughter continues as she begins moving towards Sumida. As she approaches, her form starts growing unnaturally in size, and just as she gets dangerously close, Sumida stumbles back. Norio rushes to check on her, but she vomits and tells him not to look. Sumida stands up and tells Norio to get out of that house quickly. He says he wants to, but can't, to which Sumida rushes to him, insisting that he absolutely must go, and if he doesn't, everyone in his family will die. Later, Norio visits Miura for help, and she tells him that when she explained the situation to Ryugen-sensei, he only asked for his travel expenses to be covered along with a small token of appreciation. That night, Shun is drinking milk in the kitchen, and when he heads toward the stairs to go upstairs, the lights suddenly start flickering. In the next moment, he sees Kiko standing on the stairs before she abruptly vanishes. Confused, he cautiously walks forward, climbs the stairs, and asks Kiko what she is doing. He then moves closer, but after a while, Kiko suddenly hurls him forcefully against the wall. In an instant, he disappears, and Kiko then reappears on the stairs, followed by Shun appearing beside her, and moments later, they both vanish. Norio rushes out, hearing Shun calling out his name, but Norio can't see him anywhere. Suddenly, Shun falls from above, crashing to the table. Terrified, Norio rushes to him, but before he can make sense of what's happening, Kiko descends the stairs and attacks him with a bat. Dodging her attacks, Norio stumbles backward, and the baseball bat slips from Kiko's hand. She goes to the kitchen, grabs a knife, and then moves toward him, pleading for help, saying she doesn't want this. Scared, Norio begs her to stop, but she plunges the knife into her own neck, and a fountain of blood gushes out as she collapses to the floor. Just then, Masako steps out of her room and simply says she's tired, and before he can respond, she turns back into her room and shuts the door. From behind it, she says, "Back when things were happy, I want to go back." Norio opens the door to check on her, but his breath catches in his throat as he finds his mother dead, having strangled herself with a cable. Only then does Norio hear the eerie sound of the girl laughing and trembling in fear. He quickly hides under the bed. A figure begins approaching, its presence growing more ominous by the second. But suddenly, the door bursts open, and with unexpected force, the figure hurls the bed aside, but it turns out to be Grandma. She kicks Norio, snapping him out of his terror and turning toward his mother's lifeless body. She murmurs, "It wasn't a dream?" Then, she confirms that she is fully awake. She comes out and asks, "Has everyone died?" To which Norio says yes, and his knees buckle as he collapses in tears. Grandma mutters that the flickering presence they had been seeing was behind it all. Then, turning to Norio, she asks, "What can we possibly do now?" When he replies, he doesn't know, she asks, "What do you mean you don't know?" Telling him, "Don't stop thinking." Norio admits that he has no reason to live, and it must be stopped. Grandma shoves him back and declares, "The two of us will drag that thing straight to hell, and this is revenge." The police arrive and take away the bodies of Shun, Kiko, and their mother, while Norio and Grandma are escorted to the station for questioning. That night, when they return to the house, Grandma enters and laughs loudly. Then, turning to Norio, she tells him to laugh too. explaining that the only thing that can stand against that is the power of life itself. The next day, Grandma feeds him, saying, "Make life more intense," as that's their weapon to defeat it. Over the next few days, she trains him, explaining that the body follows the balance of yin and yang, circulating both light and shadow, just like a tree. This is the role of life itself, she tells him. She concludes with a final lesson: eat well, sleep well, and live well. One day, while Norio is cleaning the window panes, he notices Grandma digging the ground. Concerned, he rushes to her, but she turns to him and asks, "What's with that face?" She then explains that Grandpa revealed it to her in a dream and instructs him to start digging. He complies, and soon after, they uncover a buried bag, followed by a shoe, and to their shock, they unearth a skull. And Grandma remarks, "The main dish is here." They bring all the items inside, and Grandma shows Norio an ID card, saying, "Sayuri Kujo, the one who stole our family." She explains that the girl was killed by her father, leaving her full of resentment. Suddenly, the house goes dark, and the lights begin to flicker. Sayuri appears in the kitchen, and Grandma casually remarks that she'll go get some greens. As she steps into the kitchen, she asks Sayuri, "How long are you going to stay a child?" She recalls the glimpses she caught of Sayuri, calling her an ugly pig. As Grandma exits the kitchen, Sayuri appears right in front of her, and Grandma says, "This is what I saw." She then walks straight through it and returns to sit beside Norio. She tells him the creature is powerless, overwhelmed by the intensity of their lives, and Akio's anxiety about providing for his family made him vulnerable, and that weakness was exploited. She then instructs Norio to say something to Sayuri, filled with the weight of life. Turning to the spirit, Norio declares, "I am full of energy," and, in an instant, Sayuri vanishes. Both of them burst into laughter, and Grandma says, "That's exactly what I'd expect from my grandchild." Finally, she tells him that he should know that nothing is scarier than the grudge of the living. The next day, as Norio leaves for school, Miura arrives with the medium. He looks to Grandma, who simply tells him, "Go and have fun." After Norio leaves, Miura approaches Grandma, saying she must be worried, but she blows smoke in her face. Miura introduces Ryugen, but Grandma slaps her, reminding her they don't need him. Ryugen approaches and says she shouldn't live in a house like this, but she hits him hard. Miura insists he was promised payment, but Grandma refuses. Furious, Ryugen rises to fight and tells her don't be stupid, but she knocks him down again. Later, Grandma talks to someone over the phone. After she hangs up, she turns back and looks at her husband's photo, a brief sadness crossing her face. In the next moment, she finds herself at the moment when Grandpa walks toward her. She becomes emotional, but before she can react, Sayuri strikes him with a crowbar, killing him. However, Grandma sees Grandpa walking towards her again, and Sayuri kills him once more. Sayuri then raises the crowbar again, but, Grandma mutters, "I am full of energy," and a cigarette suddenly appears in her hand. Then, snapping back to the present, Grandma warns Sayuri, "Don't even try it," saying, "I'll give you 100 times more hell than you." Meanwhile, Sumita tells Norio the girl's shadow is thinning, meaning he's getting stronger. He explains that Grandma is teaching him the Taikyoku style, and reveals he was once her boss, and once, she single-handedly took down 5 troublemakers. Later, Grandma tells Norio that she is going out, saying if he doesn't want to stay alone, she can send him to a hotel, but he says he can wait until morning. After seeing Grandma off, Norio returns home, and the lights in the house begin to flicker. However, he challenges Sayuri to do her worst, and the lights return to normal. Later, while Norio is watching TV, Sayuri appears in the kitchen, but Norio claps and says he gets it, telling her not to bother him, and when he turns back, she is gone. Meanwhile, Grandma sneaks into a house, and we see Sumita trying to reach Norio, but his number is not reachable. Suddenly, Norio's house begins shaking, and the lights start flickering. Then, the TV turns on by itself, startling him. However, when he says that was fun, everything returns to normal, until, suddenly, the lights go out. He gets up and tries to calm himself, but suddenly, Shun falls from above. Seeing this, he loses control, breaks down completely, and rushes to him, crying desperately. However, Sumita wakes him up just in time, and he asks what's wrong. She tells him she had a really bad feeling and couldn't get in touch with him, so she broke in. She then asks where his grandma is, and he replies that she's not here. Sumita says it's bad that she isn't around and insists they need to leave, but he refuses, saying he'll stay and be fine. She argues that he wasn't fine just now and is going to die like a fool. He warns her not to cry, and she responds that it's not by choice. Just then, the lights begin to flicker, and Sayuri drags Sumita into the darkness. In the next moment, Sayuri appears on the stairs, and before Norio can react, she suddenly appears in front of him and attacks. But he dodges the attack and manages to run out of the house. Grandma asks what's wrong, but he begins to cry, to which she slaps him and says, "Don't be a fool," before telling him to get up. He tells her that Sayuri took away his friend Sumita, to which Grandma asks, "Is that the girl who can see Sayuri?" And he confirms. She then asks, "Have you fallen for that girl?" To which he admits that he likes her. Grandma then says, "Then maybe you can get her back," and tells him that they have a trump card after all. She then opens the trunk, makes the girl unconscious, saying she is disturbing the neighbors, and tells Norio that this is the cause of their family's suffering. They bring them inside, and Grandma wakes them up, saying they have returned to a place of memories. Norio then throws a box in front of them, and Grandma asks, "Did you kill your daughter Sayuri in this house and bury her here?" They remain silent, and Grandma says, "I don't even need to hear your answer, as it's all written on your faces." She then stands up and declares that because of them, Sayuri's resting place was defiled, and my family was cursed. All 5 of them died. Norio adds that Sayuri took his friend too, and Grandma snaps. It's all their fault. She then steps closer to them and commands, "Don't move, feel the pain." The man offers money, but Grandma strikes his leg, scolding, "Didn't I tell you not to waste words?" She then repeatedly hits his feet and growls, "Who the hell said I want money?" The girl pleads with Norio to help her, but Grandma strikes her on the head. The mother, desperate, begs Grandma to stop, admitting that they killed Sayuri and promising to turn themselves in. But Grandma hits her too, saying like I care about that. Grandma then grabs the girl's leg, saying, "This is revenge," and begins striking it with a hammer. She then leaves her, picks up a screwdriver, and drives it into the man's private part. Next, she moves to the woman and stabs the screwdriver into her foot, asking, "Sayuri, can you hear me?" Just then, the house begins shaking violently, but after a while, the chaos subsides. Sayuri then emerges from her room and sits on a stool chair. She is drawing a picture of her family, and the scene shifts to the past, where her father looks at her drawing and tells her it's very good. He takes her upstairs and she pins it to the wall, after which he gently touches her hair, commenting on how soft it feels. He then leads her into a room filled with various tools, and among them, he picks up a crowbar. Sometime later, Sayuri's mother comes upstairs and is horrified to see her husband doing something terrible to Sayuri. Later, when he finally leaves the room, Sayuri collapses. The next day, when he is taking Sayuri upstairs, she pulls her hand and runs to her mother for help. However, he follows her, picks her up in his arms, and carries her away. Sayuri manages to rush downstairs and locks herself in her room, and when her father follows her, she warns him to stay away and quickly locks the door. After that, she takes the same scissors and cuts her own hair. Sitting alone, she starts eating cookies and remains locked in that room for years, doing nothing but eating, which causes her to become very overweight. Now that night, when Sayuri finally emerges from her room, she strikes her mother with a crowbar. Injured, her mother manages to run downstairs in an attempt to save herself, and Sayuri follows, ready to attack again, but her sister knocks her down. Her sister then picks up the crowbar and begins striking Sayuri, and in pain, Sayuri asks, "Why me?" Her sister coldly replies, "If you die, everyone will be happy," and then tries to kill Sayuri, but Sayuri grabs her leg and attempts to strangle her. Her father, however, grabs her from behind and starts choking her. Then, all 3 of them, her mother, father, and sister, join together and kill her. Grandma says, "I saw it," and then tell Sayuri to leave Norio's friend out of this. Just then, a crowbar flies across the room, after which Sayuri also appears. She picks up the crowbar, and her father, looking at her, says, "I really love you." He then tries to escape, but Sayuri quickly approaches him, slams him onto the table, and violently drives the crowbar into his ass, giving him a painful death. She then turns to her mother and sister, who screams for help in terror, but ignoring their pleas. Sayuri approaches her sister and strikes her on the head with the crowbar, killing her instantly. At last, she turns to her mother and gently caresses her face. For a moment, it seems almost tender, but then she drives her thumbs into her mother's eyes, gouging them out. Sayuri picks up the crowbar and turns to Grandma, who says, "You're still not up to it." Grandma then notices that Sayuri's mother is still alive and says, "You can't kill her because she must have been the one who brought you meals every day and kept taking care of you all those years." Then she adds, "If you can't kill her, then I will." Norio adds, "If you want to save your mother, then give me back Sumita." Sayuri tries to attack Grandma, but Grandma swiftly dodges and moves aside. However, she falls to her knees, realizing Sayuri's power is expanding. Norio rushes to help her, but she tells him not to stop and gets up on her feet. Norio then plays a song on a tape recorder and stands beside Grandma. As the music plays, they slowly advance towards Sayuri, but Sayuri opens her mouth, and inside, Sumita is trapped. Sayuri then launches an attack, but both they force her away. Grandma throws the crowbar at Sayuri, but Sayuri absorbs it into her body, and Grandma notices that her hand has started to rot. She collapses to her knees, and when Norio rushes to her, she says, "If he likes that girl, tell her how you feel," but suddenly spits up blood, and then she falls unconscious. Furious, Norio stands up to face Sayuri. He picks up her skull, extends it toward her, and says, "Now it's time to strike." Then, without hesitation, he bites off a piece of it, chews, and swallows it right in front of her. Suddenly, writhing tentacles erupt from Sayuri's mouth, surging at Norio, but he braces himself and pushes forward against them. Amid the chaos, Sumita reaches out, and Norio strains to grab her hand, and after a grueling struggle, he finally pulls her free. Just then, Grandma stands up and tells them both to get behind her. She then steps forward, fearlessly pushing through the writhing tentacles as she battles against Sayuri's monstrous form. Finally, she reaches Sayuri and delivers a decisive blow, shattering her demonic form and leaving behind innocent Sayuri. After this, Grandma unties Sayuri's mother's hands, and hearing Sayuri's sobbing, she crawls toward her daughter, reaching out with trembling hands. She embraces Sayuri and apologizes, whispering that she loves her, and Sayuri bursts into tears. Just then, the spirits of Norio's family members appear behind Sayuri. Grandma says, "It wasn't just the two of us," and slowly their spirits begin to fade away, their presence finally at peace. Norio then notices something shocking. Sayuri's mother's eyes are back, but she is still blind, and her sister and father remain lifeless. He then turns to Grandma, only to be stunned once more. She has reverted to her former self. Norio then narrates that Sayuri's mother gave testimony in their favor, ensuring that they were not held accountable for any crime. Grandma went back to being her old self, and that house was sold to a real estate agent and apparently demolished afterward. Next, Sumita asks Norio how life is living alone, to which he replies that money is tight, so he's working part-time, and also, everyone is gone. Just then, Grandma stands up, saying she's still here. She tells him that this world is miserable, and it's impossible to live without facing misfortune. Norio agrees, and she advises him to take a good look inside and out, take risks in life, and he'll be fine. She then adds, "Call me if you need help, and I'll be there." Norio thanks her, and Grandma sits back down, returning to her old self. Now, as they are returning, Sumita reminds him that he said he wanted to be with her, and he admits that he did, and the movie ends.